Barak Yahawah, Bahashem Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rawchaa Qadash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is The Antichrist. And pretty much, this is a lesson that was inspired by a video that Elder Pastor put up. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was the one that was about 2 hours long. And pretty much he had mentioned something along the lines of the Antichrist or something like that. I can't really remember exactly what he had said, but I know that it triggered in my mind to go into this topic of the Antichrist, because that topic is a misrepresented topic in the so-called Christian churches, because they're acting as if the Antichrist is just one particular individual, one entity, and it's not. It's anyone that's against Yahawashi. The whole system of Esau is all part of the Antichrist system. And I'm going to read this one quick precept, and then we're going to go to this article that I have on Wikipedia. And I was surprised to read in Wikipedia, and they got it partly right. They pretty much brought out the information on it, and I want to read some of it to show you that they know. So this whole concept of one Antichrist, the scriptures don't speak about one Antichrist, it speaks about many, and that sentiment, even to this day, is a controversial topic, even among those that teach the same thing in these different Christian churches. So Proverbs chapter 4 verse 7 says, "Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding." All right. So wisdom being the principal thing is what we're supposed to get, but knowledge and wisdom is not beneficial unless there's understanding that goes along with it. So let's go to this article, Antichrist, on Wikipedia. It says, in Christian eschatology, which the word eschatology, eschat, is, end, and ology is study. The study of the end, or the study of the end times. Because anytime you read eschatology or eschatological, that's just simply the study of the end time prophecies of the scriptures. So it says in Christian eschatology, the Antichrist refers to people. Listen good. I was surprised when I read this article. In Christian eschatology, the Antichrist refers to people prophesied by the Bible to oppose the God Jesus Christ, but we know his name is Yahawashi, and substitute themselves in Yahawashi's place before the second coming. And, when we read the scriptures, Yahawashi said that he was about his father's business. So if Yahawashi was about his father's business, we should be about Yahawashi's business, which indirectly we are about the Father Yahweh's business. But you have individuals out there that, so-called woke up to the truth, but they're teaching their own doctrine. See, an anti-Messiah doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that paints a picture of Yahawashi as a so-called white man, or somebody that says that they are the Messiah. It doesn't necessarily have to be that, even though those can qualify for, in it, but also those that teach the gospel wrong, anti-Messiahs. Those that exalt their beliefs and their doctrines, those are anti-Messiahs. This whole system of Esau, being established, this so-called New World Order, it's all an anti-Messiah, system. And it's geared to lead people, especially Jake, astray from the Most High. It says the term Antichrist, including one plural form, is found 4 times in the New Testament. Solely in the first and second epistle of John, the Antichrist is announced as the one who denies the Father and the Son. So, before we read any more of this article, let's go real quick to the book of 1 John, the 2nd chapter, just so that you could see that, you know, this whole concept of the anti-Messiah is not just dealing with, it's not dealing with one person. You know, it's dealing with multiple people. Anyone that's against Yahawah Yahawashi and his doctrine, his gospel, no matter how they bring it out or how they paint it, they are the anti-Messiah. All right? This is our 1 John 2:18. Little children, it is the last time. And as you have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now are there many Antichrists, with an S, whereby we know that it is the last time. So we're reading in the scripture that there are many anti-messiahs. So it's not just one anti-messiah in particular. There are many. All right. Let's go real quick. Let me see if I can pull it up. Just bear with me. Let's go to the Blue Letter Bible, because there was something that was pointed out. I'm not sure in which article it was, but there was something pointed out about when you look up the Greek word Antichrist, all right, which is anti-Messiah. Let me just bear with me 1 second. Yeah, so like I'm using this old ass phone, and it's, you know, it's acting up. Let me see if I can get it this way. 1 John chapter 2. Yeah, I don't have my Chromebook on me, so please bear with me. All right, now when we look up the word Antichrist, right? The Greek word there for Antichrist is Antichristos. All right, Antichristos is not Antichristo, singular, it's Antichristos. All right, which is many messiahs. Matter of fact, let me see what it says here. Just bear with me. I believe I looked this up earlier. Just bear with me. All right, it doesn't really say too much. All right, so Antichristos. So anytime you look up the word Antichrist, you type in Antichrist, he's an Antichrist, okay, Ak? Inside joke. Anytime you look that term up, when you go to the Greek, it's going to always be plural. All right, and all it says is the adversary of the Messiah. Now, what does it mean to be an adversary? It means to go against the Messiah. All right, so anything or anyone that goes against Yahawashi, Yahawashi, they are an antichrist or an anti-type. Inside joke. So back to 1 John 2:18, it says, little children, it is the last time. Because even back then, you know, when the apostles were writing these things down, even when Yahawashi was on the scene, you had anti-Messiah behavior going on back then. Because you had many different, you know, sects, S-E-C-T-S. You had many different doctrines. You had many different, you know, schools of thought. You know, you had the Hellenists, you know, the Hellenization of Israel. So you had many different things that went contrary to the scriptures. So that was an anti-Messiah or anti-Messiah behavior. That's why it says, little children, it is the last time. And as you have heard that Antichrist shall come, because Yahawashi prophesied about it. Even now are there many Antichrists with an S. This is why when we read in that article, it brought out the point that the Antichrist of the scriptures was never, you know, singled out as being one individual person. It was always, you know, a group of people. Once again, when we read, we'll go back to to that article, and I'll read that part again so you can see from the top. It says, in Christian eschatology, the Antichrist refers to people prophesied by the Bible to oppose Yahawashi and substitute themselves in Yahawashi's place before the second coming. So anyone that exalts himself, anyone that does not uphold and uplift Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi, that is about their doctrine, their form of, everything is about them, that is anti-Messiah behavior, and they are the anti-Messiah. All right, so you could understand. So jumping down in the article, it says the similar term pseudo-Christos. Now the word pseudo means false, and Christos, once again, is Messiah, or false Christ, but is really Messiah, is also found in the Gospels, in Matthew chapter 24 and Mark chapter 13, because Yahawashi also spoke about this anti-Messiah behavior. These false prophets would raise up and teach a false Messiah doctrine, an Antichrist doctrine. Yahawashi alerts his disciples not to be deceived by the false prophets. Why? Because these false prophets would bring forth those false doctrines. All right, and those false doctrines will lead to that anti-Messiah behavior. Let's go real quick to Matthew 24. Because I believe, let me tell you what I believe, inside joke. I believe that within there, it brings out pseudo-Christos. Let me see. And here words, definition, all these things, they shall. All right, let's see right here. Many false prophets. This is Matthew 24:11. It says, and many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. Let's see what the word false prophets is. The word for false prophet is pseudo-prophetas or pseudo-prophetes, which is false prophets. Let's see. There's got to be another one. Shall rise and shall deceive many. Go to the end. Just bear with me 1 second. Oh, here we go. Matthew 24:24. It says, for there shall arise false messiahs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. So now when we go to the word false messiah, the word there is pseudo-Christos. Once again, Christos, pseudo-Christos. It's never one particular person. Pseudo-Christos, pseudo is false, and Christos is Messiah. All right. Here we go. A false Messiah, one who falsely lays claim to the name and office of the Messiah, and also those that impose, because this is not written in the blue letter, but also those that impose their will on the people and not exalting Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi. Remember, the scriptures speak about those that deny Yahawashi. And when you don't teach in the names of Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi, you are a false Messiah. You are a Antichrist or an Antichrist. All right? So let's go back to the article. Let's see what else we could glean off of that. Matthew 24, chapter 24, Mark chapter 13, Yahawashi alerts his disciples not to be deceived by the false prophets who will claim themselves to be the anointed. Right, it doesn't necessarily have to be, sometimes you could apply that somebody say they are a Messiah, but sometimes those that claim to bring the message of the Messiah are also false prophets, false messiahs, antichrists. Performing great signs and wonders, right? Like Esau right now, he's performing great signs and wonders. 3 other images often associated with the Antichrist are the little horn in Daniel's final vision, which that's not the case because Daniel's vision happened already. Daniel chapter 8 already happened. Daniel chapter 7, the little horn there is a representation of America, and America is pushing a false Messiah doctrine and sentiment upon the world. Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 7. And let me see if I just want to go straight to the... The 7th and 8th verse are good, but I just want to get to the point. Just bear with me 1 second. All right, verse 19. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which is the Roman Empire. Any scholar out there, you know, a serious-minded scholar anyway, knows that, you know, this fourth beast is speaking about the Roman Empire, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, because that represented the might of Rome, which today represents the might of America, and his nails of brass, which devoured, break in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. Yeah, because they imposed their will on the world. Back then, the known world, the Roman Empire. Today, America, the actual whole world. All right, just bear with me 1 second. All right, and this right now, this is verse 20. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, which is a representation of the EU, which started off as 6 member nations, and eventually they, you know, they became 12, which is really 10. You know, the flag, you know, they have 12 stars, but when they were first, when they first built the headquarters in Brussels, Belgium, you know, they erected 10 flagpoles on the outside, you know, because it was really the 10, you know, but eventually in time they changed it to 12, and, you know, eventually they kept adding members, you know, because Esau's thing is to try to hide the truth, you know. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, right, so the other that came up from the 10 and from the 7, when you go to Revelation 13 and so on, is dealing with America. And America is pushing an Antichrist doctrine upon the world. And you can see it. All you got to do is look at what the scriptures say and look at what Esau's pushing through their Americanization, through that, the cup of the abomination of the whore. And you can clearly see that it's an anti-Messiah, you know, sentiment, right? It says, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows, because America puffs at these other European nations, and they really can't stand her. But the reason why they tolerate her or carry her, as the prophecy says, is because they're getting benefits from America. But these nations are starting to be self-sufficient, including the allies. They're starting to, you know, be able to do for themselves. But if eventually something is going to happen where the Lord is going to turn them against America. It says, I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. And we see that happening right now, you know. And even prior, you know, when America was in its infancy stage, you know, and when it was first starting to establish, they conquered and destroyed the Gadites, Reubenites, Issacharites, and all of the rest of the northern kingdom. Then they brought the southern kingdom over here to serve captivity. You know, so those are the saints of the Most High, the Israelites. You know, and they had them in captivity. And they prevailed against them. Why? Because that was the prophecy, that the Lord would bring us down underneath this devil's hand. Until the Ancient of Days came and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Right, so this is what we're waiting for. We're right now at the point of the end of this man's system, in the transition, and the great transition of power from, you know, from the hands of Esau to the hands of Yahawashi / Yasha Allah, which is the Hebrew for Israel. He is the prince of the power. Yah is he, Shar is prince, and Allah is God or power. So let's go back to the article. It says, three other images often associated with the Antichrist are the little horn and Daniel's final vision, which Daniel 7 chapter is talking about America, which does push an anti-Messiah doctrine. But Daniel the 8th chapter, that little horn is talking about somebody totally different, and that has already been fulfilled. The man of sin, which the man of sin in the book of 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, never says anything about an antichrist. It doesn't say or use the word antichrist, but they do have an anti-Messiah type doctrine that they push. And that man of sin is talking about Esau, the Edomites, who are the ones that put themselves up, so that the world would worship them as the Most High, as Yahawashi, as the angels, the Israelites, so on and so forth. So they are pushing an anti-Messiah, spirit to many people that are getting infected. But the book of 2 Thessalonians does not mention the word antichrist at all. All right. It says, and the beast of the sea in the book of Revelation, and that beast in the sea, they are pushing, an anti-Messiah doctrine also, but there is not just one particular antichrist. As we read even in this article, it tells you, that it's a people, So when we go to the etymology, it says antichrist is translated from the combination of two ancient Greek words, anti plus Christos. And anti-Christos, in Greek, Christos means anointed one. So it could be speaking about directly about the Messiah. It could be speaking about, the saints, but the whole picture is against Yahawashi. Anti means not only anti in the sense of against and opposite of, but also in place of, because they've set themselves up in the place of the Lord. And they're also pushing their doctrine and that demonic spin of that cup of full of abominations to the world to replace the gospel of Yahawah Bashem Yahawashi. All right, let's read a little bit of the history, and then, we could pretty much close it out there because the point is already made. It says New Testament. Whether the New Testament contains an individual antichrist is disputed. See, why is it disputed? Because they know that there's no scripture that speaks about one antichrist, but there are scriptures that speak about many antichrists. All right. It says, and even when you go to the Greek word, you type in the word antichrist, you're going to come up with antichristos. The S is plural. Many antichrists. All right. And if Lord's will, we're going to get a couple of them, and we're going to read through them. It says whether the New Testament contains an individual antichrist is disputed. The Greek term antichristos originates in 1 John. The similar term pseudo-Christos, false Messiah, is also found in the New Testament, but never used by Josephus in the accounts of various false messiahs. The concept of an antichristos is not found in Jewish writings in the period 500 BC through 50 AD. However, Bernard McGinn conjectures, this is a conjecture, that the concept may have been generated by the frustration of Jews subject to often capricious, Seleucid, or Roman rule. Because, see, you have to understand both. See, if you're reading this without understanding, you read Seleucid or Roman rule, you may understand that during the time of the Messiah, the Israelites were in captivity under the Romans. But when you read Seleucid, you wouldn't know who that individual is. Because out of the Seleucid line came Antiochus Epiphanes, which is the one that pushed hard on that Hellenization, the forcible Hellenization upon Israel. And this is where you get, there's no difference between the Greek and the Jew, or Jew and the Greek. The heathens being saved, the Greeks and all that, those are all Israelites who had lost their way because their parents fell under the spell of the Greek Empire. You see, because of the way that Antiochus Epiphanes imposed that Hellenization forcefully on our people back then. It says, who found the nebulous Jewish idea of a Satan who is more of an opposing angel of God in the heavenly court, which is bullshit. It says insufficiently humanized and personalized to be satisfactory incarnation of an evil threat, which is BS. Because, you know, Satan is a creation of the Most High. Satan is a son of the Most High. And Satan is in order with Yahawah Shem Yahawashi. All right. Now, it says the 5 uses of the term Antichrist or Antichrists with an S in the Johannine epistles, which is epistles of John, do not clearly present a single latter-day individual Antichrist. And they're correct. The articles, the deceiver or the Antichrist, are usually seen as marking out a certain category of persons with an S rather than an individual. You know, now these are from the Dewey Reign, so I'm going to read some of these, but you could go back and read them in the King James. It says, matter of fact, you know what? Let me go to the King James instead. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in Antichrist. And then pull up some of the main scriptures in the book of 1 John that go into that. 1 John 2:18, little children, it is the last time, and as you have heard, the Antichrist shall come. Even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. So it's many of them, not just one. And this system of America is pushing that will of anti-Messiah behavior and dogma, doctrine, whatever you want to call it, upon the world. 1 John 2:22, who is a liar but he that denieth that Yahawashi is the Messiah? He is Antichrist that denieth the Father and the Son. So anyone, you have atheists out there, guess what? They're anti-Messiah. It's not just one person. You have people from the other nations that have their gods and their religion that do not, you know, consent to the scripture or to the Messiah, Yahawashi. They're anti-Messiah. 1 John 4:3, and every spirit that confesseth not that Yahawashi is come in the flesh is not of the Most High, and this is the spirit of Antichrist, whereof you have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. See? So the anti-Messiah behavior, the anti-Messiahs, peoples that are against Yahawashi, that are against him being established, that are against his message, these are all anti-Messiahs or antichrists. 2 John 1:7, for many deceivers are entered into the world who confess not that Yahawashi has come in the flesh. This is a deceiver and an antichrist. So there are many different ways to identify what an antichrist is. That's why in 1 John 4:1, it says, try the spirit whether they are of the Most High. You know, matter of fact, it says, 1 John 4:1, beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of the Most High, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. See, hereby know ye the spirit of the Most High. Every spirit that confesses that Yahawashi has come in the flesh is of the Most High, right? And that's not talking about, oh, Jesus came in the flesh. No, Yahawashi. All right? And every spirit that confesses not that Yahawashi has come in the flesh is not of the Most High. Every spirit, not just one individual. And this is the spirit of Antichrist, whereof you have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. This is 2,000 years ago. So how much more has that sentiment and that spirit multiplied on the earth today? And through America, they're pushing that sentiment of the anti-Messiah dogma, doctrine, teachings upon the world through that abominable cup that has nothing to do with the MOTB. Ye are of the Most High, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. They are of the world, therefore speak they of the world, and the world heareth them. And the scriptures say that the spirit of truth the world cannot receive. So anyone that cannot receive the spirit of truth cannot receive Yahawah Shem Yahawashi, which makes them an antichrist or an anti-Messiah. So there are many antichrists, not just one. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Until the next time I say, Shalom.